Finland has an extensive history when it comes to motorsport. It's got several championship-winning drivers in multiple different racing divisions, whether that be in Formula 1 with the likes of Mika Häkkinen, Kimi Räikkönen and Keke Rosberg, or endurance and sports car racing with the likes of Tony Villander and JJ Leto, or rallying with the likes of Marcus Grönholm, Harry and Kalle Rovanperä and Tommi Mäkinen. It's also well documented how the Finnish approach driving and how seriously it's taken over there. This is a motor racing mammoth of a country. However, when it comes to racetracks, this Nordic nation is rather scant. Other than tracks that host folk racing and obviously having roads that make up arguably rallying's most arduous and prestigious event, even though it isn't actually a racetrack per se, then racetrack-wise, there isn't all that many. The most notable is probably the newly constructed Kaimi Ring, built primarily for MotoGP racing. However, in the 90s, street racing came to the country's capital. This was the track. It was called Helsinki Thunder, which by itself is an awesome name for a racetrack. The event was created by Robert Lapalainen, a former racing driver whose racing portfolio included being the champion of the 1984 Camaro Cup and 1986 Finnish Special Saloon Championship. The track began its life in 1995 with the DTM/International Touring Car Series, racing around a track that was 3.3 km/2.05 miles in length. The first challenge to greet the drivers was a 180-degree hairpin. Well, aren't all hairpins 180 degrees? Luckily, it was really wide in diameter, and it needed to be. The drivers would be trying to fit 26 saloon cars into it at the start of the race, which would begin via a rolling start. The first corner feels like something that was taken into consideration when designing this track, which is good because 1, it meant that it was a fantastic passing opportunity, 2, the starts were pretty clean all things considered, and 3, if an incident did occur there, or 2 Opel Calibras had a coming together, then the track wasn't blocked. The circuit then tightens up a bit, coming into a section which briefly deviates from the road called Suomisten Rantati. I'm sorry for my poor Finnish there. Before heading straight back onto that road. Along the long straight you go before meeting an interesting chicane. This is the 3rd time out of 4 episodes that we've had a track with a debatable chicane. I mean, in essence, it's basically put there to stop cars heading towards the following 90-degree right-hander at speeds of over 130-ish miles an hour. I don't mind it. I wish the straight was just a straight, but I understand why it isn't. It was a challenge, at least, as demonstrated by Michael Bartels, although unlike the first corner, that part of the track was quite tight if a car had an accident. Past the 90-degree corner we go, where we find, hey presto, another chicane. It almost looks like it was copy and pasted from the first one. The curbs in terms of shape, height and camber look nearly identical. After a further 90-degree right-hander, we have another long straight that isn't straight, with a surprising amount of elevation change before heading to a tight right-hander. A set of fast sweepers concludes the lap. This event from an attendance perspective was a big success. Massive crowds flocked to the Finnish capital in grandstands and hospitality areas with good visibility of the action on track. Loads of bridges as well to get over the track, so seemingly good access for the spectators to get around the track perimeters. All in all, really promising. However, there would be a change for 1996. The track layout was different. The chicane that was on the Suomisten Rantati road was removed. However, that was because the straight had been made shorter. Instead, you turned into a more open 90-degree right-hander before turning left and then right again, where you'd end up back on the road where the second chicane was, called Tiolpa-Jankatu. Once again, I can only apologise. The second chicane, which had now become the first and only chicane, was altered. It was in essence half of a roundabout. Then what was quite a long straight on the previous layout was now a short burst to a set of 3 right-hand corners preceding left turns. Or in other words, right, left, right, left, and then finish line. The corners got progressively faster as you went through them. It looks like a lovely sequence of bends, not conducive to great racing, but neither are the first corners of Suzuka, and nobody complains about them. Rightfully so as well. The crowd figures were still really impressive, but two more changes for this event were on the horizon for 1997. Firstly, the International Touring Car Series was cancelled for 1997, which was a problem because that was the track's headline event, so a replacement had to be sought, which they duly did. The inaugural FIA GT Series, a category for GT1 and GT2 ground-shaking super and hypercars to compete in lengthy endurance races. In this case, it was a 3-hour race. There was also F3000 competing at the track for that year. The second change was that they moved the pit lane from the right-hand side to the left-hand side of the start-finish straight. However, even before the weekend started, there was a problem. The weekend was held just a fortnight before Le Mans was, meaning the grid was a lower than usual 23 cars. This was due to factory-backed efforts from a number of manufacturers not turning up. Whilst that was a disappointment, the audience would get to see a bright blue GT2 spec Morgan Plus 8 GTR. I mean, it retired an hour into the race, but that's not the point, it's just really cool to see. It certainly looked incredible seeing these cars pound their way around this now 3.1km/1.9 mile street circuit. However, that would prove to be it for this event. I couldn't find an official reason, but the crowds didn't seem quite as much for the 1997 event, with a few spaces visible in certain grandstands. Although this could potentially be down to how tickets were sold to the public. Apparently the tickets were only purchasable via a telephone, which wasn't as convenient as previously. Whether that ultimately translated into fewer ticket sales and the event's downfall is hard to gauge. This is information that I found on old forum pages of Autosport, so by no means official. But it is sad that this event ended because, in a country as keen on motorsport as it is, I feel that there was every chance this event could have been a staple of street track racing. If it was revived in some capacity, then I think it would do really well. But alas, even in a country with a rich history of racing and passionate race fans, a street circuit with event longevity couldn't be achieved. That though is going to be it for this video. Thank you very much for watching. Did you like the track? Sorry, tracks? Could it have been a success in the right circumstances, or do you think its chances of success were about as bumpy as a Finnish rally stage? Say your thoughts in the comment section, along with any other street tracks you'd like to see featured in this series. However, until the next video, enjoy the rest of your day.